Watch this.
The claims spread like wildfire after a pride festival in North Idaho. A drag performer exposing themselves to kids. Except it wasn't true. Now that performer is suing. The president getting rid of student loan debt is one thing, but what about addressing the root of all that debt? The cost of college and how to prepare for it. A tradition that is now trending. A couple of Boise runners have had a good run with going viral after a summer of skipping haircuts and, well, forfeiting shaving their face. Y'all know this. Misinformation moves pretty quickly. So quickly, it's hard to know where that information originally came from. But by that point, the damage is already done, and people start to take it as fact and move on with their lives. It's a wrong that's tough to right. But one North Idaho man is taking his shot in civil court. Eric Posey is a drag performer, and he was on stage at a North Idaho Pride event. The same Pride event where police arrested 31 Patriot Front members for conspiracy to riot. Well, out in front of that stage was Summer Bushnell, a North Idaho blogger. And during Posey's set, Bushnell claims she captured Posey on camera exposing himself to a crowd of children. She even posted the video as proof. But Posey's attorney said that video was altered and has filed a defamation lawsuit. Here's Andrew Bartline.
Where 31 Patriot Front members attempted to disrupt a June North Idaho Pride event, police intervened. They charged all 31 with conspiracy to riot. But a North Idaho blogger turned her attention elsewhere.
All the focus is on the U-Haul guys. I think people are missing part of the picture.
Summer Bushnell runs an online conservative news outlet, Bushnell Media.
I support our local sheriff's department. I think they did the right thing with the U-Haul people. Why did no one arrest the man in a dress who flashed his genitalia to minors and people in the crowd? No one said anything about it?
Not yet, they didn't, until Bushnell Media published this video online. The video appears to show drag performer Eric Posey exposing himself to a public crowd.
But no, we gotta focus on the extremism and beat that drum when we're all missing the picture.
It's a picture the Coeur d'Alene police put together quickly. Police say they received complaints after the video was posted, but not from anyone who actually attended the event. Police even got their hands on an unedited video, where they concluded Posey did not expose himself or commit any crimes. Place the video side by side, and the picture becomes even more clear why Eric Posey responded with a defamation lawsuit led by Wendy Olson.
And this is Mr. Posey's effort to reclaim what went on that day and to hold Ms. Bushnell accountable.
Olson is a partner at Stoll Reeves. She says the damage against Posey was widespread and grew with time.
The blurred image that suggested that there had been exposure was put on a flyer and put up throughout downtown Coeur d'Alene. It has reappeared on social media all over the state and all over the country, and it's been used in a hateful disinformation campaign here in Idaho. Hateful disinformation campaign against LGBTQIA events and individuals generally.
The lawsuit files two claims against Bushnell. Defamation based strictly on the statements Bushnell used.
The statements that were made were false. Mr. Posey did not expose himself.
The second claim is defamation by implication. Because the video doesn't explicitly accuse Posey of exposing himself, it suggests he did.
Yeah, that's really the basis for that second claim.
But the basis of the lawsuit is larger than just Posey and his reputation. Olson notices a larger, growing trend of anti-LGBTQ language in the Gem State. Posey's lawsuit is also for the community.
To be able to use this as a way to put an end to or make it clear that hateful disinformation directed at the LGBT community is harmful and that it should stop.
We reached out to Summer Bushnell through Facebook and her email to get her side of the story. We have not heard back from her at all. She did post on Facebook that she has not received any papers or been served. We spoke with Wendy Olson about this, Brian. She says that it's very early in the lawsuit. That's very normal. They hire somebody to meet up with them, serve them papers. Of course, that hasn't happened yet, but it should happen shortly, according to Olson.
And this is nothing new, nor is it anything, I guess, old, because it happens on a regular basis. But this disinformation associated with Pride events has been going on for a long time, happened most recently with what happened in the Boise Pride Festival event. It is just one of those things, as she said, kind of an overreach or overview, I should say, of how all of this is looked upon by members of that faction throughout the state of Idaho.
Yeah, and it spreads quick. I mean, you go to that original post that Bushnell Media put up, I think 450-something people have shared it.
Yeah.
You click on those shares and you just read what people are saying, and it's pretty concerning for Eric Posey if what he says didn't happen and people are saying these things online. It's a tough spot to be
And we
in.
got sent that video a lot after that Pride Festival in North Idaho saying, what about this? What about this? And very quickly, the police up there said, yeah, this doesn't add up.
Yeah, didn't take him too long.
All right, thank you very much, Andrew. A lot of talk these days about student debt. President Biden eliminating or proposing to eliminate millions of dollars in student loan debts. It's, of course, something that has been highly debated. You got the people on one side say it's great. Some say the financial consequences for taxpayers, well, those aren't worth it on the other side. Stories of student loan debt is something that we've been talking about for a few times here on the 208. But the amount of student debt that some students take on includes some shocking numbers for families, hundreds of thousands of dollars in some cases. So as families debate how to approach college, we wanted to talk to an expert about preparing for that and how to avoid major student loan debt. In the spirit of College Savings Month, Joe Parris spoke with the executive director of the Idaho College Savings Program.
Preparing for college can be a challenge financially. Headlines these days highlight the debt that some students go into just to get a degree. It's a headline that might push future students away from pursuing their higher education goals. But did you know? The state of Idaho has an educational program to help families achieve their education goals financially.
We help families save for education in a tax-advantaged way.
Christy Stoll is executive director of IDEAL, the Idaho College Savings Program. They work with Idaho families to set up 529 plans, a special education savings investment plan designed to help Idaho families. It technically is an investment account that can grow contributions towards higher education.
Absolutely. It's a big goal, right? It's a big goal for the future. And so it's really nice that all states have a 529 and we're here to help families save for that really big goal. And, one of the things I always like to tell people is you don't have to do it on your own.
529 plans in Idaho can start with a simple $25 investment. With monthly or quarterly contributions, the plans grow on their own.
You would be so surprised what $25 on a regular basis saving could really do for your savings in the future. So I would hope that folks would, not give up their big dreams.
There are also major tax benefits when you start a 529 plan. Those include tax-deferred earnings and tax-free withdrawals for qualified expenses for education. There's also a state income tax deduction for Idaho taxpayers of up to $6,000 per individual filer or $12,000 for a married couple filing jointly. Stoll says the mentality of just starting a plan can be very helpful.
It's a big boost. It's a big, I'm going to go. It's not if, it's when and where.
So how do you get started and when? Stoll says a huge message to families concerned about higher education. It is never too early to start investing for your students.
Just start. You'll be surprised and it will be a habit and you'll just, you won't miss the money and it will start growing. So the money has potential to grow. The money goes into your account. You choose your investments, has the potential to grow. And then when you take the money out, there is no taxes on any of the growth that you have.
In the context of student loans, sometimes that is just the reality of a situation, taking on loans to get the degree you want. However, Stoll says these programs can help address that.
We also hope to help families mitigate those student loans. So any money you save now is money that you don't have to pay back in the future.
So what education endeavors are eligible? Is the program limited to one education route? Stoll says no. This is about saving for whatever education option best fits a family.
Apprenticeships, it could be 2-year, 4-year, all sorts of trade schools and that sort of thing. So we help families save for whatever their future education dreams are.
The key, experts say, to minimizing costs and loans when it's time for a student to move on is saving. Saving that can start before a student is even born.
Every dollar now that you save is too less that you're going to have to pay back potentially with interest if you take a student loan.
The Biden administration released information on student debt in Idaho that shows about 200,000 Idahoans would be eligible for their proposed plan to excuse about $10,000 of student loan debt per student. And if you ask many students, that $10,000 is great, but the reality is it is just a drop in the bucket for many. And that is why groups like the Idaho College Savings Program are drawing attention to things that families can do years and years ahead of heading to college. So the 529 plan, it's not a new thing. It's been around since 1996, but it is a mechanism that many families don't know they have access to. And Brian, college is expensive, and it's a whole other story. But the message here is that college savings experts and higher education experts are worried that the workforce could be shaped in a different way if families decide we're not going to go to any type of higher education, whether it be vocational, technical school, two-year degree, whatever. So there is an extra focus right now in our country about the conversation around higher education, and the crux of this is purely the cost, something, obviously we can't solve today on the 208. But
$10,000 would have done a great deal for my education when I was in college, but these days, it boggles my mind how much it will not do much.
Well, $10,000 in a lot of places, that's one semester,
yeah,
or maybe not even a semester.
Exactly.
So there you go.
All right, thanks, Joe. Back in July, a conservative blogger named Brian Ammon, wrote a Substack blog post called Take Back Our Country. And in it, he listed 10 ways in which conservatives can do that, take back the country. Things like fly the flag, talk to your neighbors, buy local, have parades and barbecues. Well, number 6 on his list, join the library board. Because, he wrote, these traditional institutions, what he called libraries, have been captured by left-wing activists who see themselves as woke missionaries in a pagan land. How do we stop this nonsense, he adds, to make sure libraries promote traditional values? Well, join the board and use your influence over the policies and personnel of your local library. Well, last night, Brian Ammon was able to accomplish the first step toward that goal when Eagle City Council approved his appointment to the Eagle Library Board of Trustees. That July post, by the way, was just a taste of what Brian's take is on a local library. Ammon calls himself a Christian, a husband, a father, and a descendant of American pioneers, which says a lot about who he is and might let you in on where he stands. His writings, though, might give you a little more insight on what he believes about libraries. On March 8th, he posted a 1,200-word blog on this very topic, saying things like this about libraries being run by leftists and librarians thinking their job is to bring the progressive light to the knuckle-dragging rednecks of middle America. Remember that leftist librarians see their mission as educating or indoctrinating, he wrote, the less enlightened. They use their principle of free speech as a weapon against our families and our communities. They count on us to be so wedded to our principles that we will do nothing to stop them. What if we took back our libraries, he wrote? What if library boards were composed of solid conservatives who believed in America's traditional Christian values rather than weak-willed quislings or worse, Marxist activists? What if library staffs were passionate about sharing the great books of Western civilization rather than promoting divisive racial politics and sexual degeneracy? That's what he wrote. Ammon was appointed by Eagle Mayor Jason Pierce last night, who said in last night's city council meeting they had 7 candidates for that job. And he, that'd be Mayor Pierce, along with the library director, the chairman of the library board, and the city council liaison, well, they whittled it down to 3 finalists, and Brian Ammon was appointed unanimously. We tried reaching out to the mayor of Eagle a couple of times, yesterday and today, to ask about this appointment process, how a contributor to the Idaho Freedom Foundation and someone with these kinds of views of libraries could get such an appointment, but as of this broadcast, we've yet to hear back. We even reached out to Mr. Ammon himself to ask what he plans to do in his new position. But he has yet also to return our call or our message, although the answer to that question appears pretty clear. Ammon is going to begin a 5-year term starting October 1st. Picture day usually pretty boring. White backdrop, fresh haircut, that kind of stuff. But tell that to the Santa Clara men's cross-country team and the 2 Boise runners whose headshots are now going viral for all the best reasons. Before we get to that, let's make sure you connect with us. You can send us any comments or questions you may have about the show. Just text the number on your screen, 208-321-5614. And don't forget your name and the hashtag #the208. Oh, one more thing. Stick around because we could share your message at the end of the show. Okay, so I know the term viral gets thrown around a lot these days. Not the pandemic variety of viral, but the other kind. And a couple of cross-country runners from Boise are riding that wave of popularity right now. About a week ago, the running magazine, Citius Mag, ran their annual team headshot roundup. It's where they scour the team websites across the country looking for the oddest compilation of team pictures. And the 2022 Santa Clara University men's cross-country team became an instant favorite thanks to some social media bumps. It's not unusual for teams to do some team-building stuff during the summer off-season. And for the Bronco runners, that has meant growing mustaches for the last decade or so. And every year since then, though, facial hair is just the first step toward a tradition that has turned a lot of heads.
Like a lot of things these days, it all started with one tweet. TB from Tulsa tweeting 3 days ago, "Santa Clara men's cross-country team is the most incredible thing I've ever seen." Well, 160,000 or so likes later, and a run through the roster, it's tough to argue that take. Sure, there's the cool comeback coif of Dominic, but beyond that, it's a team page filled with facsimiles of smiles and hair don'ts. From the Dupree brothers to Spencer Fisher's stash, a handlebar that seems to be mishandled.
It's like a war leader or something like that, like a general.
Oliver Brandon Upton looks like he just woke Upton. And Harvey Chilcott, or should I say Harvey Bolcutt, am I right? A scroll to the bottom of the page, you'll find two Boise boys, Nick Russell and Josh Simboli. You know, Josh didn't always look this way, like when he was helping set the school relay record at Timberline in 2019. A year before, Nick was Idaho's Gatorade Runner of the Year for Bishop Kelly. But those accolades pale in comparison to this new notoriety.
I don't think any of us expected it to blow up the way it did. It was definitely cool to have Citius Mag do it for the second year in a row, and we were super pumped about that. But then for it to go like all over Twitter and have people making like TikToks about it and having like all these news articles has been like pretty surreal.
These roster picks began as a fanciful idea for facial hair about 10 years ago.
I never even thought of like trying to destroy my roster photos until I got here, and the guys were like, "Oh, it's a tradition, you have to do it." And we we're like, "All right."
And that tradition has since taken a turn.
Okay, so are runners just odd dudes in general?
Yeah, definitely not like normal, I'd say. I think we bring out like the worst in each other too when it comes to like goofiness. We just, I don't know, one person does something and then we all get in on it. But yeah, everyone, like I said, everyone gets in a line and then it's just one right after another. And then you guys have seen the result. It just has a bunch of us looking like lunatics.
And the responses have been almost as crazy, like this description of Nick's pick.
My daughter says this dude is on his second divorce with 6 kids, 4 from their first wife, 2 from the second, and he lives in his car.
Yeah, definitely. People are getting creative with the roasts and everything. And that's been the trending comment, is that Nick looks like he's like 45.
Others look like they had a fight with their barber.
Yeah, it's a team photo, but you've stuck with it. Is it going to stay?
I don't know. Like I said, my mom will, she'll probably see this or read about it and be like, "You need to shave," because she says she likes when she can see my face. So I guess the mustache and the longish hair doesn't really help that, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm liking it right now. I have no plans of shaving, but who knows? I might get an angry call from mom and need to shave it off.
But not if it's going to jeopardize the juju of the running season.
We got a really good team this year, so we're super excited to show people what we can do and, try to put ourselves on the map other than just goofy roster photos.
Those goofy roster photos are pretty cool, though. Sadly, Josh told us some of his teammates, they've already shaved off their stashes, more than halfway, that is. Josh says he's heard from friends and family in Boise the last couple of days, including from family in Canada, who said the roster picks have been blowing up north, too. Bronco men's cross-country team will run in the Pacific Invitational in just 2 days, and as Josh said, maybe they will be noticed for the running more than looking like lunatics. It's a time for change, as evidenced by the 20-degree drop between yesterday and today, but it's also a time with a lot of moving parts around Idaho. Leaves fall, warmer clothes come out of the closet, and animals move down from grazing grounds in the higher elevations, and that includes sheep. And a week before the annual trailing of the Sheep Festival kicking off in Ketchum, several flocks are already flocking out of the mountains and across our highways, which is why when our good friend Melissa Stoner sent us this video, it's a pretty good laugh, because it is just so Idaho. This video was taken over the weekend near Featherville. And yeah, sheep, that seems pretty normal, right? But right smack in the middle of that, you see anything that maybe might be a bit unusual for, I don't know, outside of Featherville? That blue oval right there? It's actually a payphone, and it's a working payphone, we're told. Melissa said she picked up the receiver, and yeah, there was a dial tone there. When that was the only way to phone home when you were away from home, there were about 2 million payphones across the country. Now there's not even one in New York City, the last one being removed earlier this year, but apparently there's one left in Idaho, just outside Featherville. So there you go. Final minute of the show. Let's get to your comments. This one sent in from Mike. Just because Posey, the drag performer at the North Idaho Pride Festival, didn't actually expose himself but suggestively flashed, is this really the type of behavior you want your kids exposed to? Well, he didn't flash anybody because he didn't show any body parts. But really, it's just a dance move. Is it anything different than what Britney Spears has done on stage within the last 20 years or so? Thank you for showing a news story about planning for higher education and responsible ways to pay for it. I appreciate that and hope it sinks in rather than expecting other taxpayers to pay for student loans, says Michelle. This one talking about the Eagle Library Board of Trustees. It appears Ammon appointed to the Eagle Library Board is now the way Idaho is supposed to operate. Tired of hearing this is not Idaho, but look around, it actually is. This one as well. My ancestors are American pioneers, immigrants, and 7 generations of Idaho. And I believe in libraries having the ability to help educate our citizens. Maybe Brian Ammon needs to go to one of those libraries and educate himself on 21st century life. As a former Eagle Public Library employee, I'm distressed and completely saddened at the direction the library is taking. I hope the powers that be can be open-minded enough to acknowledge that we are a nation founded on freedom. Not all United States citizens practice Christianity, are white, are heterosexual, etc., etc. We'll see you tomorrow.